the whole. Presenting sponsor, RNE Consulting, Ruth Anderson, who happens to be walking around. There's a surprise. All right, and then our platinum sponsors, Caterpillar Inc. Is anyone here from CAT this morning? And then United Community Bank. I think I saw Brent and Jeff. Welcome. So thank you for sponsoring this event. Without you, these important informational state ofs could not happen, so we really appreciate your support. I want to take this opportunity to introduce our moderator, Jim Perricone. He will be sort of introducing our panelists and making sure that everything is running smoothly and then ending up on a high note. So we're very excited to be able to bring the information, this illustrious group of panelists here to you this morning to talk about Johnston County on in a regional concept and then bring it down to Clayton specific. So with further ado, I will turn it over to Jim Perricone, who is chair of our Economic Development Committee. Thank you.
Good morning. That was very lackluster. Let's hear that one more time. It's a better morning than that, or you all wouldn't be here, I hope. Good morning. Much better. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. I know it's a busy time of the year, everybody preparing for the holidays, trying to wrap up business before we get into, before the year ends. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. The topic, economic development, I think is an interesting one. If you'd asked me back in March of 2020, as the world was moving forward, where would things be, I wouldn't have guessed it would be where we are today here, and the kind of activity growth that the region's seeing, that the county's seeing, and that Clayton in particular is seeing. So it's an amazing time. I'm looking forward to hearing from our speakers this morning and our panelists and their perspectives in terms of how we go forward. As Dana indicated, I'm moderator. That's a fancy term for sergeant at arms. So if you misbehave, I've got to come curb you, get you back in line. So I'm not going to spend any more time talking because we want to hear from people that are much smarter and much more knowledgeable. So with that, I'd like to introduce, to begin the morning, two people from the Town of Clayton, Director of Economic Development, Patrick Pierce, and with him, our new Director of Planning, Ben Howell. So gentlemen, you're up.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Patrick Pierce. I'm the Economic Development Director here at the Town of Clayton. Thank you all for being here. Thanks for supporting the Chamber. And thank you for being part of what's a really special time here at the Town of Clayton. As you see on the screen here, we are the fastest growing town and the fastest growing county in North Carolina, which is a pretty exciting place to be. And with that comes obviously some great opportunities and some challenges. And that's really our goal here today. We're going to go, Ben and I are going to run through some of the kind of the highlights of things to come in the Town of Clayton and really try and answer the question, if you're seeing dirt moving around, rather than calling us and being, what is going on there? Feel free to call us anytime though, but I'll give you a little peek as to what's going on there. So this is not every project, this is not everything. We'd probably take the entire time here if we covered everything going on in the town, but wanted to hit some highlights here. So just quick introduction. You probably heard about the population growth here, but these two charts really are the census data puts us at over 26,000 people, and our projections there really put us in the next 20 years over 50,000 people. That's just in the town proper. That is not including the ETJ. So we're really going to see this town continue to grow, and you're seeing that with the housing starts, you're seeing that with commercial activity, you're seeing that with industrial activity. So a couple of the really cool projects here, and we'll hear more about this, but the Copper District, which is formerly the Lewin Project, that was recently passed by the Town Council, that up to 700,000 square feet of Class A office space, and it's really going to be the front door of Clayton, sitting there at 42 West and the 70 bypass, future I-42. But really, all of those multifamily, single-family housing units, and hopefully a hotel there as well. Really, this is going to be a fantastically vibrant place. It already is with the Spring Branch Business Park, Health Park across the street, UNC, Johnston Health. There's really a lot of activity here, and really that's going to help to catalyze that and really move forward. Another exciting project we've been working on, Project Goodwill, you may have heard over the summer. Griffles, Johnston Community College, and the town have been working on a huge project here, which would hopefully bring expanded higher education opportunities here, as well as transit to Clayton and Johnston County. And we are moving forward with that step by step, and hope to have good news here soon as we're moving from an MOU to hopefully getting an actual a land transaction there. Another great thing that was announced last summer that's moving forward, this is the Griffles West expansion. So that's a huge set of acreage that sits right there. Over $352 million of CapEx and 300 new jobs are the estimates there, and really sets a plan forward for hopefully continued growth in the future there. Clayton Industrial, this is another great project out on Shotwell Road next to the Clayton Distribution Center. This one is in the final stages of approval now on its site plan, but really fitting a niche or a need here in Johnston County for more industrial space. There's huge demand out there for life science and industrial space throughout the Triangle region and throughout Johnston County, and we're really excited to have these two buildings come online here. We'll hear more about this, but the Barber Building, they were the folks at Atlas Stark, and all of their tenants won our DDA Design of the Year award for their multi-million-dollar adaptive reuse of this. We've got Crawford Cook Shop, and we've got Scott here today. Happy to hear about that. We've got the Cardinal Bar, and this is just a really cool addition to downtown, and I think it really shows the direction, the revitalization going here. Spinning mill lofts, they're starting to see some dirt turn here, and these are moving through. This project's been in the works for a few years now, but really on the east end of downtown and east end of Main Street will really be a revitalization of that mill and some other multifamily around there, but really a great bookend to part of our downtown. And on the other end, you've got the West End development on the west end of downtown, which is that other bookend. So you really can see on each side of Main Street here and all that kind of infill that's going to, those opportunities to move in there as well. So we're super excited about that vitality there that is happening in the downtown. And I'm going to hand it over to Ben to talk about residential, because he is a residential expert and deals with a lot more of that every day than I do. So that, Ben, microphone's yours.
Thank you. Just a quick overview of some of our residential growth. So as the slide says, we have somewhere around 7,000 units currently approved and or under construction. Some of the major residential developments that have been relatively recently approved or that are under construction include the Riverwood Golf Club expansion of over 700 units, Buckhorn Branch is over 300 units, Ashcroft over 800 units, Carolina Overlook, which is an age-restricted development that's going to be over 600 units, and then we have the Meadowview project, which is over 180 townhome units. So as you can see, we're continuing to grow, and we have even more than that in the pipeline, but that's just a small sampling. And then we also, so to handle all this growth, the town's working on many infrastructure projects. Just a few to mention, some highlights. With our park bonds, we recently issued, or that we're in the process of issuing, we're going to be renovating Municipal Park, adding a splash pad, playground, basketball and futsal courts, multi-purpose field, and a band shell. And then the East Clayton Community Park is going to include renovated soccer and baseball fields and some new paved parking out there. We're also working on our greenways. I think we're finishing up the downtown connector of the Sam's Branch Greenway, connecting it to Municipal Park, which connects it into the downtown area. And that's actually recently been designated as part of the East Coast Greenway, which is exciting, and that connects out to the Neuse River Greenway. We also have the town pedestrian plan that's currently underway. We're also working on the Neuse Water Reclamation Facility, which is a 6 million gallon per day wastewater treatment facility for the town, and it'll be expandable to 10 million gallons per day. So we're working on that. We also have numerous other water, sewer, and electric infrastructure projects that we're working on to accommodate growth. And we've also been working closely with NCDOT and our regional partners on transportation projects, including road projects such as widening of NC 42 and the Ranch Road expansion. And Patrick's going to talk a little bit more about some of our transit.
So in addition to that, when we were working on our growth plan update here recently, the number one thing in terms of a need or a challenge that was highlighted by folks that took that survey, most of which were residents of Clayton, was the need to address transportation and adjust, congestion issues as we're continuing to grow. So part of that, in addition to the road infrastructure and our work with NCDOT, we've also been exploring, and I'm going to have a chance to want Joe's input on this later in the panel, but a bus rapid transit's being considered to go from Raleigh and go kind of along plus or minus the Business 70 core is their study area there, and look at that as an opportunity to really bring transit on a reliable and frequent basis, really along that corridor and connect into Raleigh, and then it'll extend actually on the western side out past through RTP. The next consideration that's out there as well is commuter rail, which is using the existing NCRR corridor there, which will have I think serve a different market, but also, but follows, I think, a somewhat similar path as it goes into Raleigh and out through and really out onto parts west there. So two considerations, two ways that without necessarily adding a lot of capacity in our current roads in terms of width, it's better utilizing the existing right-of-ways that already exist there. And I think that's an exciting thing. And these things take time. So, we may be talking about it here today, but to have these things happen, it's probably going to be, end of the decade till we see these things happen. So unfortunately, these things take time, but you got to plan a system and then you have it there for life. And with that, I'm going to hand it over. Speaking of planning forward, the comprehensive plan, and Ben and I worked really hard on this, and he's going to have a few words on this piece as well.
Thank you. Speaking of taking time, we've recently adopted our 2045 comprehensive growth plan that we really hope will lead the growth of Clayton and guide the growth of Clayton through the next couple of decades. Some highlights from that plan that was recently adopted in November. We have the new future land use map where we did expand the employment center areas, especially along the Highway 70 area. We added some more community and neighborhood mixed use centers, and we also expanded our land use categories around downtown to include downtown core, downtown support, and downtown neighborhood to further ensure that we have a thriving downtown as it continues to develop. And then the biggest part of the plan, at least for my department, is some of the implementation tasks. So some of the things that we are currently getting underway and will be continuing to get underway include the Unified Development Code rewrite, which is of course our rules that guide how development will occur in Clayton. We're also going to be working on several small area plans, including a NC 42 US 70 bypass small area plan, a downtown master plan update, a US 70 gateway small area plan for actually both ends of US 70 business. In the plan, we hope to, continue to expand our greenway network, develop a water and sewer master plan, and one of the big pieces to address what we just talked about is development of a mobility plan, which we hope will happen sooner rather than later to better guide some of our transportation development in town and handle transportation for our growth.
I think that's all for us. And I think in lieu of asking questions here, I hope you know how to get a hold of Ben and I. If not, we're not too hard to find on the website, and we'll have an awesome new website, I think, coming online here fairly soon. So in lieu of asking questions now, get a hold of us. We're accessible. We love to talk to people. We love to get out and chat with folks in the community and think about what your visions are, where you see Clayton going, and how we can help bring those things to fruition. So with that, I'm going to transition the panel, I guess, and I'm going to be working on that, but maybe if we could give Ben a round of applause for his contributions here. Well, we were able to bring together a fantastic group of regional leaders here on this panel. I'm very thankful to each of them here. I'm not going to go through their bios. They are in your program, and so encourage you to read up on them. But I would like to give them each a minute or two to kind of introduce themselves, some introductory thoughts. We'll ask them questions, and or I'll have some questions, and hopefully have a little bit of time at the end here for some questions from you, and then we'll wrap this program up. But it should be a good hour here. So with that, I'll start with Joe, closest to me, and we'll work down the line here.
Sounds good. So I think I'm doing this right. So good morning. Good morning. So hi, I'm Joe Milazzo. I'm with an organization called the Regional Transportation Alliance. It is a business leadership group that focuses on mobility issues. We've been around for 20 years. We are a program administratively of the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce, but we represent over 25 chambers of commerce in 12 counties in central and eastern North Carolina. We are funded by the member businesses from companies like Duke Energy right here, large companies, small companies, the whole way through. Our website is letsgetmoving.org. And so I've been with them for 20 years myself. So a little bit about RTA and then a few minutes about perspective on regional mobility is what I want to do. And the first thing I would do is actually thank Dana for her leadership for this chamber. I want to thank you for the partnership, and I thank you for beating the drum to make sure that economic development works, because that means your community works, because without that, you don't have it. Someone who was born and raised, myself, in a very small community in southwestern Pennsylvania, about 4,000 people, and now it's only about 3,000 people, right? And so I appreciate the growth in the extended triangle and the greater triangle where we are right now and even further out every day. I remind people all the time, if our problem is we sat at a stoplight a little longer, that's the problem that you want. I promise you that compared to other parts of the state and the country. So I'm going to start with that. RTA is a group, business leadership group. We're a private-public partnership whose job is to provide and build consensus and action around mobility issues. I could say it a little bit differently. Our job is to use the strength and leadership of the business community to make sure that transportation projects take less forever than they normally do. And if you wonder sometimes why these projects take a long time, and they do, right? And they do. And you might say, I can't believe how long they take. And what I would tell you is you should not be amazed that they take as long as they do, you should probably be more amazed that anything ever gets built to begin with. Right? When you think about the processes in this country, and it's not a critique, it's just the nature of American democracy. We've set it up in a certain way, and I would prefer this over some other ways we could have organized our government by far, but one of the challenges is how long they take, right? And so we got to know that. And so what do we have to do as community leaders, as business leaders, as citizens, as people who care about our community, whether it's Clayton, Johnston County, North Carolina, the Triangle, whatever you want to say. Prioritize, focus, be purposeful, keep our eye on the ball, right? So you heard today about the bus rapid transit. You heard about the commuter rail. You heard about, and we're all familiar with things like 540, and that will open in just over a year or so, and that's going to be great. Those are all wonderful projects. They do not happen automatically. They do not happen without purposeful intent, long-term focus to make sure they get done. Think of the game of whack-a-mole, right? Uh-oh, there's a new election. We're out of funding. Somebody sued this. I mean, and there's so many ways if you want to stop a project. To keep it going, what you have to do is build a culture of inevitability and broad agreement that this, whatever this is, has to get done. And so that's what we try to do. And so we'll talk more about these specific things during the remarks, but whether we're talking about BRT or 540 or Interstate 42, and Chris and I have talked many a time, that is the name of that highway, is Interstate 42. It's not a bypass of anything, right? It is an interstate highway. If you want to have, we'll come up with some cute name like the Capital of the Coast Freeway or something if you want, but it is, if you want to be cute about it, but let's not do, let's get that word bypass out of our lingo. And I'll turn my remarks over to my colleague, Chris Johnson.
Well, thank you, Joe. I could do a standing ovation when, because one of my pet peeves is every morning when I'm watching the local traffic, they're saying, here's a live shot at the Clayton bypass, and it just absolutely is like nails on a chalkboard, because we're very blessed because of the growth of Johnston County is really due to a couple of things: leadership, a pro-business mindset, but then also our transportation links. And when you have Interstate 995, I-40, and then US 70, which is transitioning to I-42, we're very well connected. Most of our most important transportation projects for Johnston County actually are not in Johnston County. When you talk about the widening of I-40 from 4 lanes to 8 lanes, and then obviously the southern loop or the 540 loop, all the things that made Johnston County attractive 10, 15, 20 years ago will be 15 minutes closer. And so Joe mentioned about growing up in rural areas of Pennsylvania. I grew up in rural areas of North Carolina. I jokingly say it's not the end of the world, but you could sure see it from my backyard. You know, our communities, particularly in the northeastern part of the state, are not growing and actually are, I hate to say dying, but there's just not a lot of people moving back. And so Johnston County is very fortunate to be in the position that if you are growing, then you're not dying. And so with that comes challenges. One of the main things, or the 2 takeaways, I guess, for the first 5 minutes, and then I'll be more than happy to answer questions because I kind of like that a little bit better. Obviously, talent. Talent is the key driver for anything, whether you're a small business or a large corporation, finding talent and the competition for that. And it's only going to get tighter. I was talking to our restaurateur down at the end and trying to find available talent and individuals to work is key. And so how we can solve that is if I could do that, then I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be raking in the millions. But fortunately, we've got a great community college system. We've got a great education system, developed that pipeline. We've got a great working relationship with our existing existing industries, whether it's the apprenticeship or developing programs in the 8th grade with, like working with plasma that Griffles has been involved in. We're very fortunate that even though she retired, we have Joy Callahan still a part of the economic development team to address those things. One of the things that we're going to be working for is we've got right now a workforce of over 105,000 people living in Johnston County, but unfortunately 50,000 leave every day to work in the Triangle region. So it's my job is to turn those cars around and reduce the traffic on 40 and the future I-40 and have an opportunity for our individuals to live, work, and play right here in Johnston County. So that's kind of my charge. But to make that happen, there's a saying in the economic development field that no product, no project. And we are woefully lacking in available product in Johnston County. We are running at probably about a 99% occupancy on our industrial space. We have absolutely nothing. And particularly what clients are looking for today. Speed to market is critical. A lot of the projects that have been announced in other areas of the Triangle, which I celebrate, we had those clients here in Johnston County talking about the opportunities here. The only thing that we did not have was a building. Whether it's the gene therapy companies that have relocated or opened up in Lee County, or the new Amgen, I guess, is in Holly Springs. All of those companies were in Johnston County at one time considering us. But obviously we didn't have what they were looking for. And when you boil it down, it's the product. Fortunately, I got a great county commissioner, and not to feed that ego, but you know, we've got we've got Commissioner Lauder here, who is they have given me the tools to be able to work with our developers to look at the possibility of trying to bridge that gap philosophically. Our county commissioners and I feel this, that we should not be competing against the private sector, but how can government work with the private individuals to build that product? And so one of the things that we've come up with is a lease program that other counties have implemented that we've got in our toolbox now, to where we can partner with developers to go ahead and get the spec buildings on the ground, so that we don't miss out opportunities for our citizens to, again, live, work, and play right here in Johnston County. So just two takeaways: talent and product is what I fight every day, but then also making sure that our existing industries are well taken care of. And so we've got a lot of those in the room this morning. So I look forward to having a one-on-one chat, or if you have any questions in the future, I'll be more than happy to, or in the remaining part of the segment, I'll be more than happy to answer that. So thank you very much.
All right.
That one's real high.
Test. Okay. Davis.
Tried to make the mics hotter.
Is this still doing that? Does that sound okay? No.
If you can't hear me, just raise your hand. Follow up with everybody. I'm Craig Davis with our firm, Craig Davis Properties. We're very excited about being here. I will tell you that we do a lot of work throughout the region. Jacksonville, Europe, and RTP, Raleigh. And we've been welcomed with open arms. We had a vision early on. I'll admit, when I was working with the Kimley Horn organization, by the name of Penny. You were waiting for me for about 7 years. Very proud of told me one day, I got something for you that will go maybe, but I'm not going to really think about it. And so one thing led to the other, and we started talking about the retirement. And he came in to me one night and said, I think
It's, that's right?
There you go.
Okay.
I'll hold it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I think it's time for us to have a little talk about my family's land. And we had been pushing towards this way for quite some time. And you talk about public-private partnership. When we went into NC State's Centennial Campus, we were the first private developer that came along. And that whole environment changed because of the way in which the team worked together on the public-private partnership. And I will tell you guys that if that is done right, and that is done collaboratively, you can accomplish some amazing things. We were able to bring 620,000 square feet of office space on the side of a kudzu field with parking decks, which you would never think would happen financially, to the university. We brought 72 different partners into the endowment. And all of a sudden, the collaboration, the talent, the people came. And because the infrastructure was built, and we had to build some speculative product. And I tell the story that, it's the pucker factor sometimes in developers are important. And we were 18 months in, 90 days away from open, and I had a handshake, but I didn't have anything done. And then all of a sudden, it hit, and we built, 500,000 square feet and never looked back. So I think we're in that same situation here in our area. So after Dean said that, we sat down together and said, let's take a look at this and create a land use plan and work with the municipal leaders to see if we could get something unique. And I think what we're trying to accomplish is to bring something new and innovative to Johnston County and Clayton. It is a project that we have also talked to a lot of stakeholders around the community and around the region, and a lot of people want to be here. And so bringing the right types of product at the right time is our mission right now. Rural healthcare is extremely important, and we are adjacent to some of the larger institutions and in our area. In fact, I was saying to Dean, because ironically, Dean went into retirement. We went under contract with the project, and then I went to him and said, well, you're coming to work for us. So he took a few months to think about that, and he's now directing and is the development director for us on the project. My responsibility is to make sure that we get the capital so that we can make all this happen. And we've formed our first GP fund to get involved with this. So a couple nuances, and then I'll stop. The town, the county commissioners, all the leadership here, again, has been open arms and very transparent. And we can't tell you how good that is, because in all the other municipalities, it's a little bit different, okay? So we asked for some height issues based on stakeholders' needs, and we were able to work through 145-foot height product with the office. And so that was primarily coming from thoughts and mistakes that were made over the past 20 years at different types of healthcare facilities. So we did some research associated with that. The live, work, and play environment needs active, vibrant, residential, higher end density to make this stuff happen. So we asked for that. We then started to look at the demographics relative to the residential and how different types of residential could be incorporated, not necessarily, everything plugged together and pushed right up next to each other, but having some character and some longevity. So we think we can bring that as well. Our whole challenge for everybody here is, just like we kind of talked about, it's the utilities, it's the water, it's the sewer, it's the transportation. And involvement and participation from us is very, very important. So we're not the ones that don't want to put the capital in to be proactive. So our world is to help put that in and work closely with allocation to get us through the planned expansions so that everybody can participate and be a part of it. Main Street, we want him on Main Street. We want there to be vibrancy. We want there to be libraries. We want there to be education. We want there to be community involvement. And we have built that in. Now, we've also hired one of the largest lodging facility consultation groups to give us a feasibility study on that over the next 3 to 6 years. That report is due next week, and an interesting first of the year, we're hearing some data back already that kind of blows our mind a little bit on it already. So I think what our message is to the town, the county, is that we've been there before in these infant stages. We know what it takes risk-wise to deal with it. We know what it takes collaboration-wise to deal with it. And all of us will have to be a part of it to pull it off. But the ability to do that comes with people and having the relationships to understand people's needs. And that's how we started Craig Davis Properties 30-some years ago. Because what we found in our research was that no one really outlined their needs or were transparent with their needs. And once we understood that and gave that to clients, it was amazing what happened. And I'll tell you one little story and then we can stop. One of the larger employers in this whole region had a major problem, but they made a decision to say that they needed product in everybody's house in the United States within 24 hours. And they came to us and said, go do the following. Go build whatever you have to build to get it done. And we said, no, stop a second. Let's convene a group. We flew to a special place and we asked the question, why do you have to have this product on everybody's or in everybody's home within 24 hours? And they said, well, we were told to. And we said, give us 30 days and let's come up with a plan to see what would happen. That plan ultimately was implemented in their pipeline, we took out $250 million in the first quarter of cost. And all of a sudden, the products that were supposed to be delivered every 24 hours, no customer wanted it before 7 days. So we could basically get anything in the country, we can get this product to any place in the country within 7 days, be it truck, train, air, etc. So what we are here to do is to ask a lot of questions and make sure that what we build quickly, and you said it best, speed to market is absolutely essential in today's world. And we believe that the Copper District can bring a beacon to a new gateway, new center in Clayton. So we're proud to be here, we're excited to be here, and we look forward to being a part of the community.
It's awesome.
Let's see if this works. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'll hold it. I got it. Thanks. Good morning. Thanks for having me. My name's Scott Crawford. I have a company called Crawford Hospitality. I own 2 restaurants in the Oakwood district in Raleigh called Crawford & Son and Jolie, and now Crawford Cook Shop here on Main Street. We just opened. And I grew up in a small town too, northwestern Pennsylvania. And it's one of the reasons I was so attracted to Clayton. But I started my company for a couple reasons. One reason was to explore a more sustainable culture for our industry. Food and beverage industry has been plagued with issues and problems. I've been in it for 30 years and I've pretty much seen it all, or so I thought, until 2020. But I had an interest in improving our industry and leaving it better than I found it. And the second reason was to explore how food and beverage and hospitality can partner with development in transforming towns, districts, cities. And that's very gratifying work for me beyond just feeding people. And so when we went into the Oakwood district in Raleigh, there really wasn't a whole lot going on there. This was about 6 years ago. I mean, beautiful homes, but the business district was, one of the buildings that I'm in now was just boarded up, and the other was in pretty bad shape. And we invested and we believed in that district, and we wanted to be caretakers of these historic buildings, these beautiful buildings that they have a lot of problems, but they have charm and they deserve to be taken care of. They deserve to be, for us to preserve that history. And so we did that with one restaurant, and it was a hit and successful. And so the space next door that was boarded up became available, and we grabbed it and went through a whirlwind, a year of basically fighting with the city and the council to invest $500,000 of my own money into something that was currently boarded up. It was a really jarring and interesting and amazing experience. And expensive. And, but it needed to happen. I think it needed to happen for me to understand these processes that we talk about, and how to navigate them, and how to work with the right people to make them happen. Because along the way, there was never one moment when I said, this isn't worth it, let's stop. My business partner did several times. And I said, I'll go on without you. I'll do it without you. I believe in this project and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna see it through, and I'm gonna see this fight through. Specifically, one council member who's no longer in office just really had this personal thing about this project. And in the end, people saw value in it, as I did, and the neighbors came to a hearing and testified on my behalf, and we made it happen. And it's been an amazing little restaurant. We call it the little restaurant that could. And so from that experience, I decided, let me explore this a little bit further. This is very gratifying work. And a friend of mine, Gabe, came to me from Atlas Stark. He came to me and was talking about the Barber Building. And again, it was an opportunity. And I said, well, how's this process going to go, And I have to say it's been an amazing process. And it's amazing to be a part of a community that's very similar to the town I grew up in. And so this is sort of a nostalgic project for me. It's become the second, there's two parts, right, for my company. It has to make a good business sense for us to come in and invest and want to do a project. But there's also the emotional attachment. And I felt that immediately on Main Street in Clayton. It is a special town, and I'm not saying that because I'm sitting here, but I've explored a lot of towns and a lot of districts in this area for my company to expand. And this one certainly spoke to me and my family. The energy and the people here really is what spoke to me, and the buildings and the development. So there's a little bit about my background, and I'm extremely excited to be here in Clayton, and I look forward to becoming more involved in the community and exploring those partnerships in development and learning more about how to navigate that and make really great things happen. So thanks for having me.
Great. Well, thank you all. That was fantastic. I'm going to start here with Joe on this end here. You're a regional thinker. You're dealing with regional problems, looking at the Greater Triangle here. We talked about infrastructure and transportation is one of the kind of challenges we have. We've talked about the BRT and the commuter rail. Maybe just talk a little bit about how your organization's kind of thinking about that, and maybe any suggestions or recommendations you have as we as a community are kind of thinking about those opportunities as they move forward here.
I appreciate the question. So one thing I'll mention about Clayton and Johnston County and then the Triangle broadly is that we are geographically blessed in many ways. I mean, one thing in terms of the traffic congestion, it's lower than it otherwise would be because 95 is east of the commuting corridors. It's part of our community here in Johnston County, but it's not a commuting corridor directly, and 85 is the same way. And so then you look at the BRT, and you look at the commuter rail, and those have the chance to be an amenity and something that makes the connectivity work really well. And I'll mention this. So bus rapid transit, and I appreciated the presentation and that slide there. Right now, as we sit here in the end of 2021, we have, of course, 0 miles of bus rapid transit, not just in Clayton, but in the Triangle. In fact, in the entire state, there aren't any. By the end of this decade, there'll be over 50 miles of bus rapid transit open in the Triangle, and it may be closer to 75, depending on how Durham's transit plan goes. They had light rail in their plan, they've just moved away from that. To go from 0 to 75 quickly can get you a ticket in certain places, but 0 to 75 miles of bus rapid transit can get you in a very good spot, mobility-wise. Our group represents some of the largest employers in the region, from the larger universities to financial firms, law firms as well. And 10 years ago, it wasn't really on the radar as much. Now it is. People are looking for options for a number of reasons, sustainability, the environment, and so on. And so Clayton is situated because it just happens to be on that corridor. Our group's actually helping to fund the study of extending bus rapid transit here to Clayton and into Johnston County. And so my guidance, and you and I have had many conversations about it, Patrick, would be supportive, be purposeful about it. Bus rapid transit is scalable. It can happen quickly. You can be very confident that you will have it as long as you continue to say, we need this. This is important for our future, and it's a lower cost piece. And then As for the commuter rail project, just to be very direct about it, if someone were to say, are you really saying we need commuter rail right now in Raleigh or Clayton or Johnston County right now? I'd say absolutely not. I mean, there's clearly we don't have the need for it this second, but that's not what this project's about. No one's going to build an open commuter rail tomorrow or 5 years from now, maybe 10. And even 10 years from now, it may be on the margin, but that's okay. Think of 540 over in Wake County, especially the Turnpike piece. The day that freeway opened, it wasn't full, it was pretty much empty, but that wasn't because it was a failure. If 540 opened and it was full on day one, somebody missed a calculation somewhere. Somebody forgot to carry one or whatever happened there. You needed to have a good plan for the future. And so the conversation on commuter rail in particular, it's an expensive project, there's no question about it. But think of the corridor, Center City, Raleigh, Central Business District, Clayton, Center City, Durham, the edge of Research Triangle Park, center of the community in Cary, all in one line, and the state of North Carolina owns the corridor. It's 200-foot white right-of-way. I mean, they had a consultant come in years ago, and they're like, you guys own that? I said, yeah, the corridor's owned. So that doesn't mean that we need to have a bunch of trains and today, this second. No, I'm not saying that. But this is a 10, 20, 30, 40-year look-see out. So so just being a part of it, and not to monopolize the whole piece of it, but Clayton has another geographic benefit. It's almost on, it is on the edge of the county. So Wake County and Durham will be making the primary cost investments, and the cost of extending that in to Johnston isn't that much, right? So if Wake doesn't do it, no, you don't do the commuter rail. But if it's going to happen, you want to be a part of that conversation. There would be a missed opportunity, I would say. So I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for. That's how I would think about it.
Just want to hear your honest and open thoughts, so I appreciate that very much, Joe.
Yep, 10-4.
Yep. So, Chris, thinking about the future and kind of now, always like to get a reminder and kind of an update from you, like what is, as you're out talking to folks, as you're filling out RFIs, you're talking with site selected consultants, what's the secret sauce right now that you continue to promote as it comes to Clayton, as it comes to Johnston County? I know it's not just vinegar-based barbecue sauce. I know there's some other sauce there that you're out. What is that exactly that you see now as that opportunity that really differentiates us from other communities?
Well, first of all, it's my clothing. I'd like to wear this jacket here to my RFI meetings. No, my wife wouldn't allow me to get cool ink like Scott has on his arm, so I have to go with the jacket since she owns a retail store. So, but you're more than welcome to rent this at Jules Formal's in downtown Smithfield. So I'll throw a plug into that. No, everything that we do in Johnston County, I can trace it back to the small business. And I tell people, regardless of whether you're a small business that with $300,000 in annual sales or a large corporation with $300 million in annual sales, it is all the same. It's making sure that your customers are happy, that your employees are there, that you're delivering what you're saying you can deliver. So the secret sauce is the pro-business mindset that we have. Unfortunately, I'm a bureaucrat. I hate to say that, but I do work for the government. And in the words of Ronald Reagan, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. It does kind of have that pucker effect that I believe someone mentioned about. But I think that our county, when we compete with my colleagues, and I celebrate, and they celebrate with our victories, and I celebrate with their victories, is that it's a huge win for the region. Our success, obviously, is driven on the success of what Wake County's doing and what Raleigh's doing. The three major universities, the park, the airport, and all the things that make this region attractive. Obviously, we're right on the cusp of that. I mean, we are the third largest county in the Triangle region. We're right behind Wake and Durham. And earlier statistics show that we could surpass 300,000 in the next 10 to 12 years. And so that's a huge trajectory of growth. The things that keep me up at night, obviously, we need to make sure that we have people in areas where people can live. but making sure that the real estate market, that we don't price ourselves out of those opportunities for industries to relocate to Johnston County, because it's like the wild, wild west out there. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was begging for developers to come into Johnston County, literally going to Johnston, going into Wake, going into other areas and begging them to come see me. Now, I've got a meeting at 10 o'clock or whenever we finish here in Clayton at Boulevard West. I had 2 meetings yesterday with developers. I've got phone calls set up. They know about Johnston County, and I don't think that's about my jacket, but I think it's about what we do here, and it's about what we deliver and the things that we do. And I mean, when we say something, we mean it, and we realize that we approach things in a pro-business mindset, because that's just where our philosophy lies. And so we realize that speed to market is critical. So obviously we have rules and regulations in place, but we're not there to point everything out and stop everything from going. We're there to assist and to guide you around those and how we can climb those hurdles together. So.
That's great. Thanks, Chris. And I think I need to update my wardrobe a little bit here. This seems a little too plain. This one is for Craig and Scott. You know, both of you have made significant investments in different ways into the Clayton community. And, you know, you're both regional players. You know, Craig, you've got stuff all over the Southeast. And Scott, I know you've got a large interest and a large network. I guess I would and you've touched on this a bit, but I always like to put a finer point in it. Of all places, why Clayton?
Well, for me, again, there's a couple of parts. The business part, number one, right? Restaurants are extremely risky, even if you're good at it. I thought I was pretty good and had the game figured out, and then in 2020, the game completely changed. So they're risky, and you can fail. You can do everything right and still fail, and then it's costly. So the business aspect, I do my homework and I study. And Clayton and Johnston County are known for being pro-business and assisting. And we all know that these processes are necessary to go through to make things happen. But through every process, in my experience, you can either assist or you can hinder. And the process can be exactly the same in 2 different places, and yet it can be a completely different experience. And so the pro-business aspect was very important in Clayton. Beyond that, the growth. Naturally, for me, I need a certain amount of density and diversity within a community to fill my business and make a viable business. So that was important. Also, though, the charm and the energy of a city, this is something that's very hard to describe or articulate to people who don't get it, but I came here and spent weekends anonymously and secretly with my family on Main Street and around in Clayton, just to catch a vibe, to pick up the energy. And it has energy, it has great energy. And that was very important to me. Because if I didn't feel that, even if it was pro-business, there are a lot of communities out there that are pro-business that are asking me to come there. And they just don't have that energy. And that's just something that's sometimes we can, as restaurateurs, we can come in and create that. But it's better if it exists there already and we can enhance that for me. And that was the case here. So those are just some of the reasons. Beyond that, personally, this town reminded me quite a bit of the town that I grew up in. So there's some nostalgia there for me. And like your town, my town now doesn't even look the same. It's unrecognizable to me. It was a manufacturing town that now is just completely dead, and it's very sad for me to visit. So it's nice and rewarding for me to see a town similar to the one I grew up in, be involved in how it's growing and becoming even more vibrant. So that's very gratifying.
It's interesting. Everybody's from Pennsylvania here, right? My family, my mother and father grew up in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Dad went to Penn State. There you go.
I'm from Northampton County, North Carolina.
Where I'm from, we're closer to that than you might imagine, actually.
I think that the key to us, the people, the pro-business side, the welcomeness, the ability to listen. There's not too many people that listen on what you really are looking to try to do. And I think that because of the diversification of product lines that we have been involved with, that we can bring a unique environment to a part of Clayton that really can shine. And so we felt like going big, being a little bit bold, be a little bit environmental from a standpoint of creating that environment can really push to the next level. And that will facilitate transportation. That'll facilitate infrastructure. That'll facilitate people, vibe. We were really big on the Copper District and how we created that with it. And you'll see through the web pages coming out and so on that we're really going to be down to the medallions on the entries to the stores and everything that ties in to promote Clayton and the business community. So we hope to be, our big world right now is getting everything into a site plan approval world that we can start the project infrastructure, that we can create the roads, the systems, and be in a position to have vertical development started so that you can be delivering things in 23, 24. So that's our mission and our goal. But I'll say to you, it's the people that make a difference. And if everybody gets behind it, not just us, but the whole community, it'll work and it'll be very, very special. And we're luckily, I keep saying I'm 39 and holding, but I've been able to be involved with some projects that did create some new worlds. So I think we can try to do that again.
Wonderful. All right, last question for all of you. You're all in your jobs required to kind of look out on the horizon, kind of look forward. Anything out there right now? I mean, the Triangle's obviously in a very good upswing as a whole. Do you see that momentum continuing? I assume with your investments, you probably do. Anything out there that gives you pause? Anything keeping you up at night that you see that maybe not issues that are going to bring it to a halt, but things that we as a community need to continue to think about and address going forward? And I think you all kind of touched on bits of that, but always good to kind of, identify that and help us kind of focus our thinking as we're all moving forward together. Whoever wants to jump in, you can.
Don't create silos that people can't collaborate with. Make sure that it's open, it's transparent, and everybody can get involved. And if you have a tough, if we have a tough decision to make, make the decision and everybody get behind it. And if not, you'll splinter. And especially with this growth, we haven't seen growth yet, in my opinion. And it's amazing what's happening. The pandemic has kind of increased that capability. You're seeing people coming from all over the world. Okay, so, and they want this kind of a life. They want a life that that's not necessarily all in the big city. And
I'm here from Seattle, and many people think that that's the other side of the world, so, I get it.
And the energy that Scott's talking about, if you can get that, you got to maintain it.
Yeah.
So.
I would just say, what keeps me up at night right now is I've worked so hard in my career to create a better industry, a better company, and suddenly we lost, a huge percentage of people who wanted to work in this industry. It's a tough industry, but when without the benefit of higher education, I pretty much worked my way from less than zero to a pretty awesome life in this industry. Started washing dishes. You know, it's exactly what my son does right now. He washes dishes. And so I still believe in this industry. I still think it's an amazing industry. And so I probably get 2, maybe 3 calls a week from developers. And I don't jump because we just don't have the talent. And so that's the only thing keeping me up at night. If you ask that question, what causes me to have pause? That's it. Otherwise, you know, if the talent was there, I like to see people come up through the company. I'm going to make 2 major promotions within my company next year. And I made a major promotion this year, people who, you know, literally were servers, who are now directors and doing really great things. If we can find more talent and we can attract more talent, then we can continue to partner with development and do incredible things and create incredible lives for people who maybe didn't get to go to college, but are smart and they pay attention and they work hard. So that's causing me pause right now, but I'm optimistic that we can attract maybe some new talent. Maybe we lost some people during 2020. I get that, no judgment, but we need to find more talent. So.
For me, it's things that probably are out of our control. I think, you know, whether it's a recession or whatever, you know, from a national standpoint, but I feel like we're pretty insulated and may not necessarily take a huge dip. The anti-growth movement that we've seen in the Triangle region of what I refer to as drawbridge individuals, that people that move here from other areas and then want to close the door behind them to make sure nobody else moves here. But having said that, it needs to be smart growth, and that's the key thing. It needs to be balanced. We need to maintain the culture and the heritage and the ruralness that makes Johnston County attractive, but yet making sure that we do it in the right way. So.
And I want to say my guidance in terms of thinking what to do as we think about what keeps you up at night is simply this. Focus on what it's really the complement, exactly what Chris said. Let's focus on the things that we can control. And so if the national economy goes into a recession, we probably can't control that. If tax policy in Congress goes to hell in a handbasket, we can't control that. What can you control? You can focus on the collaboration that we've seen in this community and in this county and continue to make sure those relationships are in place. Supporting organizations like the Chamber, working in concert with your elected officials. Since I'm focused on transportation, I would say pick the few items that you have to have and you need to have and focus intently on that and be repetitive about that in the nicest possible way. So, need the BRT? Do it. Commuter rail, say we want to be a part of that conversation. You don't necessarily have to commit to, we're willing to spend this amount. No, we want to be a part of that conversation. This is an important part of our conversation to be a part of. And when there's something that has to get done, be incessant about it. A few years ago when 540 was in jeopardy, if you remember that, I'd go to every meeting and our lead volunteers would do it. We said the same 11 words over and over again. 540 is our highest priority, and it will remain so until it's under construction. And everybody knew exactly where we were, and everybody knew exactly that we were never going away until that project got under construction. And so when it comes to things that you need to get done, be purposeful, figure out what they are. Interstate 42, don't call it a bypass ever again. Thank you.
All right, let's give our panelists a big round of applause here. Before I hand the mic back over to Jim Perricone to close us out here, I do want to recognize a couple elected officials here. I know Commissioner Bush-Lauder was mentioned by Chris. Also, we've got one of our new town council members, Porter Casey, here. So I just want to, let's give them a round of applause for all of that. And I just want to thank personally all of you for being out here today. I want to thank the Chamber for their partnership and being able to put on these great events, and for all of the partnership and the collaboration that we get to do with them every day and all of you every day, and just look forward to a fantastic 2022. And for me, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jim.
Actually, we need to thank Representative Strickland.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Representative Strickland. Let's please give him a round of applause. I'm still learning everyone's faces, so I'll get the rookie mistake there. I apologize, sir.
Okay, to close, I'm going to make this brief because everybody's got a place to go, I'm sure. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all the panelists. It's a reminder to me that you don't have to be smart. You just have to be smart enough to hang around with smart people and listen to them. So thank you. I learned a lot this morning, and I appreciate it. Thank you to all of you, because this doesn't happen unless you show up, and not only show up here to listen today, but to show up to make this community what it is. And I know a lot of people in this room are instrumental in shaping where Johnston County and Clayton have come from and where it's going, and I thank all of you for your dedication to that. With that, we're going to wrap up. Give yourself a round of applause first. And I thank you again. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is, and be safe out there and stay healthy. Thank you.